This is so strange. Hello everybody and welcome back to the podcast. You are listening to Be Candid with your host Amber, which is me if you haven't figured that out. Thank you so much for being here and clicking on this episode, whether it is your first or one of many. Thank you very much for being here. The reason why this episode feels so strange is because, spoiler, I'm currently sat in my new room, which I have no idea how the acoustics of this are going to sound. It's going to be a bit of a learning curve, so you're going to have to stick with me on this one because we have just moved, which is what today's episode is going to be all about. A little life update and kind of like the process and story behind us moving, but we have like slowly but surely furnished and decorated and everything like that, so I'm hoping the sound will be okay, but it's definitely a bigger space than our last, which I'll get into. But yeah, thank you for being here. I did also want to mention that today I'm going to be trying something a little bit different. You're not going to know, but I was about to say, if you didn't know, I have recorded this episode already, and in said episode I mentioned about how I wanted to have a little bit of a different approach to this podcast, or this episode, I guess, in the sense that I wanted to kind of slow things down a little bit. I think the majority of the feedback that I've been receiving from you guys, which is so great to see, by the way, thank you so much, is not only that like you're enjoying them, but that I go a little bit fast, which I completely agree with. I've even done like disclaimers in previous episodes where I know I get very excited or enthusiastic, shall we say, about a certain topic and tend to just ramble and just get carried away with whatever I'm saying. So I'm going to be trying to take a little bit of a backseat. I think this goes especially for my mum. She definitely told me to slow down, and also it's something my dad tells me in like day-to-day life, is that I just speak quick, but I think my mind goes quite quick, and after doing YouTube and stuff for so long, I've kind of trained my mouth, I guess, or my speech to keep up with my brain, so it can get a little bit quick. Especially like I've realised when I'm journaling, I can't write as quick as my thoughts go, but I seem to be able to talk as fast as my thoughts go. But a podcast I have really been enjoying recently is Emma Chamberlain's podcast, which is called Anything Goes. And what I love about it, my voice went a little bit weird. What I really love about it is just how conversational it feels. She's very chill as a person and in her podcasts. And I feel like I just come away from it feeling like I've had a conversation with someone, which I really appreciate. I don't really feel like I've been spoken at for the last 45 minutes. I do feel like I've just had a conversation with a friend, and even though I haven't said a word and she's literally been talking for the whole time, it just feels a bit more natural. And I think in previous episodes I was very quick to kind of edit them, chop them down, make them speedy, but I think as far as that goes with YouTube videos, podcast episodes are a little bit different. So I'm going to be slowing down in this episode. There are some podcasts I listen to where I actually have to check to make sure I haven't like paused it or like clicked something on my AirPods and accidentally clicked a button so to stop it or whatever. So I'm going to try and take a breath. But all that to say is that I tried to do that in my previous episode, this episode I guess that you're listening to, but the one I recorded before, and it did not work. I had planned out like a 40-minute podcast and I said it all in 27 minutes, guys. It was a quick one. My boyfriend actually said, like, can you not slow it down in like editing? But then I knew my voice would sound weird and it just wasn't going to work. So I've got the timer up on my screen. So hopefully I can kind of pace myself out a little bit more. You guys can get a bit of a better understanding of what I'm trying to say. And Mum, if you're listening, hopefully you'll appreciate it too. So I guess starting with today's podcast, I'll talk about how we found out we were moving. If you don't follow me on Instagram or on YouTube or anything like that, you may not know, but the little backstory is that we as in me and my boyfriend Christian, who I've been with for 5 years, were living in a rented apartment with another couple, and the apartment was owned by the other couple's family. It's going to get a little bit confusing, but try and stick with me. It was in London and we were living in East Dulwich, which we really enjoyed. And because it was like a family friend, or like a friend's family, I suppose, with the other way around, we got a really good deal on rent. And I'm talking £325 a person for rent, which in London, if you are a fellow Londoner, I can only apologise because I know how sick that must make you feel, because that is dirt cheap rent. Like, you can't find that in most places, let alone London. So we were very, very lucky. So obviously we moved in as quick as we could. I think we were there for just over a year. I think we moved in January and we moved out in February. And we were planning to stay there maybe like a couple of years. We really liked the couple we were staying with. We got on really well. It was definitely hard sharing a space because me and Christian had previously had our own house, had our own space. So it was definitely an adjustment living with other people or another couple. But it was really fun, especially in lockdown, to be living with other people. So yeah, that was kind of the backstory. So finding out that we had to move was a little bit of a shock to the system, not gonna lie. I even remember, like, to the T how it happened. I was on FaceTime with my mum. She's getting a lot of mentions in this episode. And we were just having a chat, as we do like once a week, having a little catch up. And I got a text through on like our flat WhatsApp. We had like a group WhatsApp chat that we could keep up to date with. And we got a message in there saying like, "Hey guys, ... we have some news. Let us know when you're free." And I saw it come through and I read it out to my mum and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get kicked out. And there was just something in me that knew. Christian had kind of thought that, I don't know, maybe we had an infestation with something. There was something wrong with the property, because that day we had actually had the landlord around, or our flatmate's uncle round, to kind of have a look around and fix some things, because some things were a little bit like dodgy or broken. So he was there to do that. And so he thought maybe the landlord had found something that we have to deal with. Maybe we have to move out for a couple of weeks. Somehow I knew in my gut it was going to be a little bit bigger than that. So immediately I like hung up on my mum. I was like, I'm going to call you back. She's like, yeah, go for it. Like, keep me updated. We went into the other room where the other couple were, our flatmates, and they were like, yeah, we're really sorry, but our family member is moving back to London for a couple of days a week and they kind of want their room back. So you're going to have to move out. And yeah, it was a really hard pill to swallow, I think, even though I was like, I don't think I was prepared for it, but in my head I kind of knew how the conversation was going to go. It was still like oh my gosh, what now? And they were like, yeah, you've got 30 days to move all your stuff out, which for me as like a major planner was a lot to take in, and it actually happened super quickly, which is really strange. But that evening, I think over dinner, me and Christian were kind of looking at houses on Zoopla and Rightmove, which are like my favourite renting websites. So we were having a look on there, and there were actually quite a lot of options that we liked, which I was so grateful for, because I didn't really want to have to move somewhere or like downgrade, I guess, to somewhere that we didn't really like, because obviously our setup in Dulwich was so good. So we wanted to kind of stick with the same thing. And through all of this, I still can't get over the timing of it. Like, if you do follow me on YouTube, I actually documented the whole thing because I was just filming a week in my life, because it was my first week at my new job. So a little backstory, I guess, if this is your first episode, another backstory, we love them, is that I graduated in April 2020 and was basically like unemployed or furloughed for forever, and started working as a nanny for a little family that live around the corner from us in Dulwich for like a couple of months, up until February, I think, when I started my job as an event executive, which, side note, is going really well. Thanks for all of you who are asking how it's going. It's really fun. But yeah, so it was just such good timing to think, like, we had just moved into that flat and then lockdown was announced, and there is no way in hell I would have been able to afford to stay in London unemployed or on furloughed in our previous house, but because our rent was so low, I could actually afford it. So that was like the first miracle. And then the fact that I had just secured and started a job within the events industry, like the same week that we were told we were going to move out, was such a blessing. Because if you didn't know, it's really hard to find a property when you don't have a job and you can't prove like how much you get paid. And saying that, even if I was still nannying, to be having to like commute to nanny would be really difficult. Like, they were so local, which was kind of the biggest benefit of the job, I guess. So to have moved to Brixton, where we currently now live, still nannying for that family would have been just so difficult. So things kind of all fell into place, and I just felt really lucky and fortunate that it had kind of panned out that way. Someone is definitely watching over us guiding our path somewhere. So yeah, that worked out really well, and we ended up going around I think 8 or 9 properties the next day, or like on the weekend after. So like I think within like 48 hours or 72 hours or something, we were already looking around apartments, and we found one. But looking around houses is so fun. I love it so much. I always watch like house tours or empty house tours, or like the, what is it, Selling Sunset and all of that. I like love looking around properties, and it's definitely interesting doing it yourself, especially in lockdown. We were actually allowed to look around in person, which I'm so thankful for, because I do think it's hard to kind of get a vibe or like the energy of a place from images, and even then like the sizing and stuff, and they don't necessarily like take pictures of the mold or on the ceiling or the really crummy bathroom or whatever. But we looked around some really nice places. Our budget was like £1,000 to like £1,350 a month, like shared between 2 of us. So yeah, that was kind of the process behind that. And actually on the day we found 2 that we quite liked, but they were very were they very different? I think they were very different. The first one was kind of oh gosh, I should have thought about this before. How do I best describe it without being able to show you? The first one was very cool, like exposed brick, 2 layers, had a lot of character with like the brick and the roof and the kind of structure of it. But the outside space was a bit makeshift. It was like astroturf, quite small, and there was a hell of a load of construction going on, which we really had to consider. And then the second place we really liked is the one I'm currently sat in, but it was a bit more homey, like not exposed brick or anything, like wooden floors, carpet, kind of like a warm tone on the walls. Again, multi-story, so like the bedroom has 2 floors. Does that make sense? The bedroom's upstairs, lounge, kitchen downstairs kind of vibe. And it had another outdoor space, which we found out was really important to us whilst doing our house hunting. We really appreciated that. But it was quite small, like it is a tiny space. So yeah, we were just like toing and froing between the 2, trying to figure out which one felt right for us. I particularly liked the smaller property. Christian quite liked like the cooler, characteristic exposed brick property. So we had a lot of conversations, and I think in the end it was just like the construction that we couldn't get over, because on the call the letting agent had actually said like, oh, just so you know, there is some minor construction going on. I was like, yeah, that's fine, thinking it was going to be like, I don't know, some scaffolding on the side of the building, or maybe next door was getting some work done. No, they were like literally trying to build a skyscraper. Like they would just set down the foundations. It was a massive plot, and it looked like a lot of work. And I don't know about you, but I didn't really want to take my morning coffee outside and be surrounded by like builders and things like that, and just noisy construction. So we opted for the second property, which is this cute little tiny house that I am sat in. There are some like videos about us like moving in and our house tour and everything on my YouTube channel if you did want to check that out. But yeah, it was just so much fun to be able to look around and to like make an offer, or like say that we wanted to move in and start that process. Was just so exciting. And it was kind of like a mix of emotions, because I think me and Christian quickly adapted to the idea that we'd have our own space again. That was something we were really looking forward to. But at the same time, like living with our old flatmates and in our old house with the setup we had worked so well. So we were a little bit sad to say goodbye to that. But I just, every time for some reason, I forget how difficult moving is in terms of like packing, moving all your stuff, unpacking. Like it is a mission. I think in the end we did about 9 trips back and forth. I think I just kind of packed as much as we could. We found out on a Friday, I think it was like Friday the 18th, Thursday the 18th of February, I think, we found out that the contract was signed. We could move in on Friday, aka the very next day. So we did some mad rush packing and just like broke down all our furniture, filled up the car a bunch of times. But it is just exhausting. Like it's just quite stressful and just a lot to get done. And I don't know if that's just my personality type or whatever, like other people may find it easier, but for me it is a mission. And for some reason I always forget that. Like I've moved 1, 2, 3, I think this is my 4th move, and every time I'm just super excited about it and just like remember all of like the fun and exciting parts about moving, like figuring out where you're going to put stuff and all of that. Like, it's so exciting to be able to have a new space and kind of change of scenery, I guess, especially with lockdown going on, because it's like the only scenery I see ever. But it is stressful, which I always seem to forget. So it was a real mission, but we got there in the end. But I will say, after moving in, I was hit like with a truck or something. Honestly, I just felt so tired and so fatigued, so much so that I've actually booked in an appointment with the doctor to get a blood test, because I'm strangely tired from this move. So I don't know if it's like triggered something in me or what, but I just want to say, like, if you are moving, like, I feel you. I feel your pain. It is a lot, but it's also super exciting too, especially now that we're all settled in. The space is like starting to feel like ours. I think I'm recording this like the 3rd week of us living here. Oh, also just to say, this podcast is like, well, this podcast, I always say podcast, I mean episode. This episode is probably the most up-to-date one that's going out ever. Like, as you're hearing this on Tuesday, it's currently Sunday. So yeah, hi. In the very near future, because before I like bulk recorded a bunch, which I'm so thankful I did. I guess that's another weird thing with the timing. I like bulk recorded a load of episodes, not for like any purpose, but just because I was so excited to get this podcast like up and running and get it off the ground and everything like that, that I just had recorded a bunch of episodes. But it worked out so well because it completely like covered us for moving, because moving and trying to record moving and trying to record episodes would have been a nightmare. So very happy how that worked out as well, but also very happy that they're now, I don't know, going to be a little bit more fresh and up to date and current, because there's been a lot going on, let me tell you. But yeah, now that we're in the new house, we absolutely love it. I think, yeah, it just feels right. It's like very comfortable for us. It feels like everything kind of slotted into place really nicely, and we were really lucky to be able to find a place so quickly, because I know for some people it takes like months and months and months, and I can only imagine the stress of that. So yeah, we're very, very grateful to be here, and we are absolutely loving it. I will say another weird thing I found with the move was that, I don't know, again, I think me being the planner, I had thought that a new house would mean like a new me, kind of like, you know how people say, oh, new year, new me. I was thinking like, oh, in this new house I'll have all these new routines and healthy habits and everything, because I'll be in my own space. Like, it won't be like, oh, I can't work out right now because so-and-so's in the lounge, or oh, I can't make that healthy smoothie right now because so-and-so's on a call in the kitchen or whatever. It was kind of like a free-for-all space where I could kind of be the best version of myself, I guess. But I think with that, you have to kind of realize, like, yeah, it's a new house and a new space, and you do have the opportunity, I guess, to make new routines. Something about being in a different environment, I think, does make that a little bit easier. But I'm still the same person, you know, like the lack of motivation I had to work out in the previous house is going to come with me in the new house. The new house isn't going to motivate me. It's something that's, I don't know, more internal, I guess, that I have to kind of figure out. And I think initially that was quite weird for me to get my head around, because I had kind of this toxic mindset that like this new house was just going to solve all my problems. And obviously moving in is a process. I think I thought that we would drive up on Saturday to the new house, everything would be set out, and I'd be moving into like this perfect, pristine home. You know how like on TV shows they do like a before and after, or like a big reveal on like Fixer Upper and stuff. That's how I was imagining like arriving to the house, which so did not happen. We have been living in cardboard boxes for a very long time. In fact, there's still one in our kitchen that needs to be put somewhere. But it is a process, and I have to be a bit more adaptable, I guess, or like forgiving or flexible with myself. And not to say like I haven't implemented new things, because I definitely have. I've started working out a bit more, which I have been loving. Our bedroom gets so much light and is so much bigger than our previous bedroom, so I have enough room to put down my yoga mat, and I have my Monstera plant there, and I look at the mirror in my wardrobe for like form and stuff, and I do feel like I'm in a little serene yoga studio somewhere, which has been gorgeous. So I'm really enjoying that, and just having like our own space to make smoothies and all of those things. But it has been a learning process. It didn't all happen at once, if you know what I mean. So that's been really exciting, and just something that I can't wait to be able to share with you in terms of like my new routine and my like journey through moving in. And yeah, I guess I can also touch on just how excited I am for this year. I guess we're moving into a little bit more of just like a life update rather than a moving house story time, I guess. But if you didn't know, London and the UK is still in lockdown. We've been in lockdown since late December, like just before Christmas, I think. And they have finally announced all of the dates where lockdown is slowly going to be lifted. For example, I have a haircut booked in, shocking I know, for I think the 17th of April. And guys, I think I'm going blonde. Which some of you may not know if you've never seen me, or maybe you do from my, oh gosh, am I going to have to change my podcast icon? Probably not. The blonde won't stay forever, I'm sure, but I'm currently a brunette, maybe like a medium kind of brunette, not necessarily dark hair, but definitely not blonde. And I have never dyed my hair. I had highlights when I was like 13, 14 once, and I have never touched my hair since. So I am thinking about going blonde, which is going to be a big transition, but I just think there's part of me this year, especially now like all of the lifting of the lockdown dates have been announced, that I am going to be releasing a new Amber, a new form of myself, in the sense that I just feel like I have missed out on so much this past year that it's been, I guess. Like, I was 22 when lockdown was announced. I'm going to be very nearly 24 when lockdown gets lifted. And I think like they are such prime years of your life. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm living with my boyfriend. A lot of my friends have just moved to London, and I'm graduated. I'm in my new job. I've never met the people I'm working with in person. Like, I've never seen the office or anything like that. And I just feel like I never had my graduation or anything. Like, a lot of big milestones and things that I should have been enjoying and going traveling and all that has just been postponed for so long. So I definitely feel like I have something to make up for when lockdown is lifted. Not to say like I'm going to go crazy right out the gates, because the last thing I want to do is be part of the reason why, for whatever reason, we get thrown back into lockdown. Like, please don't let that happen. But I do want to kind of, I don't know, spend a little bit more time with my friends and like be a bit more eager and motivated to like go out on the weekends or try new restaurants. And let me tell you, I am never gonna go home early again. I was always a person at like 1 or 2 o'clock at a bar or a restaurant or a club or whatever. I'd be like, I'm good, I'll go home now. Oh, once I'm in that club, I swear I'm never going home ever again. Honestly, I can't wait for it. And I think I'm getting overexcited because I have been buying so many clothes. You do not understand. How best to approach this. Last year, 2020, I made a resolution, me and my boyfriend did, that we would not buy any new clothes for the year. So everything we bought was like secondhand or a hand-me-down from someone or thrifted, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, we went the whole year without buying anything new. And I was weirdly surprised at how easy it was. It just felt, I don't know, pretty natural, because we had already been, well, I already loved charity shopping or thrifting anyway, and as much as I do love buying clothes, I found that I could still get that kind of same little boost of something from buying something secondhand that I did when I bought it new. So I've kind of been carrying it on, and recently I have downloaded Vinted. These YouTube adverts got me, okay? I had seen so many adverts for this like place where you can sell your secondhand clothes. This is not sponsored whatsoever, and before I was a Depop girl through and through, but the thing that I find on Depop is like some of the items are quite expensive for what they are, and it's definitely a different kind of vibe than just like going into a charity shop. You know, it's like a lot more curated and things, which sometimes is great, especially when you're looking for something really specific. But I quite like the, I don't know, like the jumble sale aspect of charity shopping, the like treasure hunt of like rummaging through all of this crap to find the one good thing. And that just means so much more to me than like typing in something on Depop and finding it straight away for like triple the price that I would find it in a charity shop. So safe to say, I have done some damage on Vinted. I've probably bought 8 things off of there within the last 2 weeks, And saying that sounds like quite excessive maybe, but when you think that none of the things I've bought have been over £8, I feel like it's well worth it. I think Vinted is like a great combo between Depop and like Facebook Marketplace or something, where you still have some really great like quality items, but people are just trying to get rid of stuff, so it's a hell of a lot cheaper than like the curated shops that you see on Depop. So I'm freaking loving it, and let me know if you want to try it out, because I can give you a referral code. Again, not sponsored, but it's just like part of the app. You can like refer friends, and I'm pretty sure you like benefit from it in some way. So if you wanted to try it out, let me know. But guys, it's been so much fun. I love getting packages. I love trying out new clothes. I'm currently wearing a pair of like 90s baggy jeans, which I think are originally from Berkshire. No, is that how you say it? Bershka. I said that. Berkshire. Bershka. Which I've actually never shopped in before, but I know is a very popular store, and I got them for £5. And let me tell you, these jeans are my new favourite pair. Like, they fit so well. I'm so happy with them. So yeah, it's just a really fun way for me to kind of like experiment on some new styles, I guess, for a lot cheaper than I would be if I was getting it at Depop or new, which something about buying new clothes now just doesn't appeal to me. I just find like there's already so many clothes in the world that I don't really need to be buying new stuff. So yeah, I've been really enjoying it, but I will be thrilled when the charity shops open, which I think will be happening like around the same time hairdressers open, so like sometime in April maybe. But there are just some things that's like, I feel like a real sentimental attachment to some of the stuff that I find in charity shops, because I don't know, I relate it to the day or who I'm charity shopping with, or I don't know, it just means something a little bit more than like clicking through on an app maybe. So yeah, I cannot wait for them to open back up, especially because I've just moved to Brixton, so I have a whole host of new charity shops to check out. There's actually like, let's have a water break, I'm drying up here. Is she back in the room? I think she's back in the room. There's actually a huge charity shop like just up the road from us, and we're also very close to Clapham, so there's all the charity shops there. And yeah, I just cannot wait for those to open back up. It's going to be a fun time. But I think I will definitely be doing like a thrifted haul over on my YouTube channel if you wanted to check out some of the new pieces I got, because I'm very excited about them and I just cannot wait to wear them. I hope you guys all have really fun things planned for whenever your lockdown is lifting, because I think it's just going to be a great time. And there's part of me that just like can't wait to get back in the office, which sounds so strange, but like I said, I have started a new job and I've never been there. I went there once to do an interview back in March 2020, and then lockdown was announced, so the job was postponed. Re-interviewed for it again in February and got it. I obviously re-interviewed on Zoom, like virtually, not in person, but I just can't wait to like meet my colleagues and like see them in person. I think it's going to be really strange to be like, oh, you're a lot taller than I thought you were, or like, I don't know, just like seeing people in person and having that kind of office space rather than working from home. I think I will really appreciate, especially because our London office is so pretty and I have such a nice commute. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this year and everything it's going to bring, and I'm so happy to be in our new house, and I think it's going to be the perfect place to host all of these amazing things that we have planned and make a lot of fun memories, especially with our outdoor space. I am dying to have a barbecue and invite our friends over, or like a housewarming party and all of those things. I think we're really lucky to have a garden as well, obviously, because I think you'll be able to mingle with people outside before you're able to mingle with people inside. So it's nice that we have a space that we can do that as well. But yeah, I cannot wait for it. I know a lot of you have also been asking about my mum's puppy, which I've been asking about a lot. I've been asking a lot about as well, because I have yet to meet him. If you didn't know, my mum, I'm so jealous. She got a lockdown puppy. She got a little border terrier, which she's been wanting a puppy for years, and she's always been like, I'll get one when I retire, which is going to be in a couple of years. She's managing to retire early, which she's like so good, like done so well to be able to do. But she decided that she's just going to, bite the bullet and go for it. So she has, and little Archie is sat at home and he's so adorable. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen some pictures, which I'm forcing my mum and my sister to send me because I'm so sad to be missing out on the puppy phase. Like, that is not fair, But I think even if we were not in lockdown, like, I'd only be going home like once every couple of months, so it's not like I'm going to be missing out on a huge amount of his life because of lockdown, I mean, but because I live so far away. They live in Bournemouth, which is like 100 and something miles away. It's like a 2-hour trip, so we usually go home like every couple of months, so I would have seen him then, but other than that, like, I wouldn't have really seen him like every day or anything. So it's nice to be able to get those pictures through. But he's doing really well, he's adjusting really well. I think he still like has some kind of a little bit of like separation anxiety because him and my mum have formed like such a bond, which is so cute to see. But I just cannot wait to go home and see him. But obviously that can't happen for a while, which is fine, but he's doing really well. And if you want to see more pictures, you can definitely head over to my Instagram to see his cute little puppy dog face because he is the sweetest little thing. Oh, I actually forgot to mention as well that this is the first episode that I got you guys to get involved in over on our Instagram page, which is @tobecandid. If you're interested in like a little behind the scenes or want to be involved in future episodes, you can do that there. But for the first time, I posted a question box. I wasn't sure if it was like too early days to be able to do it because I know like, ooh, I'm not sure if you heard that. That was a really loud car. Yeah, I'm not sure like how involved you guys want to be yet or how active you'd be, but I've got some really fun questions, so I guess I'll go through those. I like almost completely forgot about them. The first one is, how long do you think you'll be living at your new house? So let me think about this. We moved in February. I reckon like at least a year, maybe. We really love it here. It's been like a really great setup for us, and I think it will continue to be a good setup for us for a while. We have to live here for 6 months. That's how long like our tenancy agreement is. So yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes. But should I talk about this? I guess I'll talk about this. We eventually want to move to New York or like to a different country, I guess. I won't specifically say New York, but with Christian's job that he does, they have a potential to open up a new office in another country somewhere, hopefully exotic or different from London. So that's really exciting. So who knows when that's going to happen? Potentially at the end of the year. I think my laptop just froze. I'm kind of concerned. Yeah, so potentially another year, maybe a little bit longer. Okay, I think something funky went on with my microphone or my recording software. I'm not really sure what just happened. But basically, we'll be living here for like another year properly, probably. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit less, but somewhere around there. What's your favourite part of the new house? Great question. I think it might be just how much daylight we get in here. We have some really big windows in our bedroom and then windows on either side downstairs. So it's literally like a light box. It's like 24, no, that's an exaggeration, but it's light all day, like as long as it can be, which I really love. There's something about the sunshine pouring through the window and like hitting your desk and everything, which just feels so lovely and really kind of boosts my mindset or my like mental health or whatever. I just really appreciate it and love it, especially when it's like dappling through the door or whatever. It hits different, I freaking love it. So I think that's probably the best part. Or I have just remembered, oh my gosh, okay, sorry about that, my microphone just fell. Talk about noob podcasting. We have an amazing bath is what I was saying. It's huge, it's really deep and just the best thing. It fills up so quick, it's so hot and it's fabulous. I do freaking love it. I think I've already had like six baths since being here, so we're getting a lot of use out of it, but it's definitely another favorite thing that I really have. Oh, next question is cute. What's your favorite part about living with Christian? Well, that's kind of hard. I think our favorite part about living here together is just that we have our own space. I think we really appreciate that now more than ever, because we had our own space, which I really appreciated, but Christian hadn't really experienced anything other than that. Like, he'd never lived with flatmates, so then obviously living with flatmates was a bit of an adjustment, but something we really enjoyed. And now coming out of the other side of it and living by ourselves, I think we appreciate the small things that we might have like taken for granted before. Like, even just like leaving washing up in the sink, as sad as that sounds, is super exciting for us because we don't have to feel guilty about it, which is really nice. But my favourite thing about living with Christian, I don't know, just like he's here all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're in lockdown together, so we spend all day together, which I'm sure could have gone the other way, let me tell you. But we've been really enjoying it, and it's just nice that like we never have to say goodbye at the end of the day. Like, I don't know, just he's here all the time, which I really love. Ooh, I think it's kind of interesting. This next question, where do you want to live next? I really would like to live in a different country for a while, just because, you know, we're both young, like we have kind of jobs that we could do anywhere. So I think it would be fun to experience like a new city or a new place, whether that be like in the country or whatever, but definitely like in a different country. Although saying that, I know that moving literally 20 minutes down the road was so difficult, so I can't even imagine what moving country is like, or how stressful that would be, or what the process of that would be. But I think it would be really fun to do, and I think kind of soon-ish, or like our current stage in life, would be the best time to do it, before we're like tied down with like a puppy or a house or anything like that, which is definitely where I see us going eventually. But I would kind of like to live somewhere completely different, somewhere completely new. But I think if I were to live somewhere else in England, you know what, I'd probably be really boring and say I'd want to move closer to home. So maybe like the New Forest area, maybe somewhere in Dorset, not necessarily back in Bournemouth, because I just feel, I don't know, like I lived there for like 18 years, you know, I feel like I've kind of done Bournemouth, and I don't think I'd want to be like on my parents' front doorstep or anything. Like, I think having lived away for so long, I do appreciate kind of space that we have between us, and how we do have like slightly different worlds. There's something about that that's quite nice, I think, maybe. So yeah, maybe a bit closer to home, but not too close to home. Oh, good tip. Good question. What is your biggest tip for moving? I always struggle with this because I feel like every time I've moved, I've done it slightly differently. Like the previous time we moved, I pre-packed everything like months in advance, and I think it was just because I was eager and I really like packing, whereas this time was a very quick turnaround, so we had to pack quite quickly. Oh, and I think the next time we pack, we'll have to like hire a van and stuff, which might be my biggest tip actually. If you have a lot of stuff, I would consider buying a van, because I think, not buying a van, but renting a van or like a moving service for the day, because I think the reason why the move was so stressful and took so much out of me and everything like that was because we did have to do so many trips. It was like a real mission, you know, and I think if we had been able to move all our stuff in one trip, that would have been such a breeze, or just way easier. So maybe that would be my biggest tip. But maybe on my current experience, my biggest tip would be to not put too much pressure on yourself. Like, it's very stressful. There are a lot of deadlines that things have to be moved by, or a lot of things to do. But I think it's important to try and focus on like the fun side of it, or the exciting side of it, and just not take it too seriously, because I think that can take away from the experience of moving. I think I like to remember all my moving experiences as fun and like exciting for those reasons, so that, I don't know, I remember it as like a positive stage in my life, and it makes me more excited for moving forward in the new place wherever I'm moving. So maybe that would be my biggest tip. Definitely easier said than done, but yeah, try not to be too hard on yourself and put too much pressure on yourself. Okay, I think this is a good question to end on. A little bit different, but what is the first thing you're going to do when lockdown is lifted? Good question. Well, I've already spoken about charity shops, but I think that doesn't really count because that's a little bit before lockdown will be lifted. I think once lockdown is properly lifted, I think it happens on like June 21st, I think is the date that we currently have, I will be hosting, because I freaking love hosting. I will be hosting a housewarming in our new house, maybe a barbecue. Christian can do a barbecue. He loves to man the barbecue and get all the good food, and I want to invite all my friends and people back from home and people that live in London, and I just want to have a really fun like day / evening, or like afternoon / evening in the house with a barbecue, cocktails, games, all of those fun things, and just like enjoy the sunshine with my friends, which I feel like is something I haven't been able to do for so very long, and something I am literally dying, like I cannot wait for that day where I can just hang out with all the people that I love the most in the world. So that's what I'm going to be doing. But yeah, that is it for this episode. I think I've managed to talk a little bit slower. Maybe I had to keep checking myself on the timer. I think there's definitely times where I got carried away, but you know, it's gonna, like I said, everything's a process over here. It's gonna take a while. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And if you were one of the people who wrote in a question, thank you so much, because it was so fun to have you guys be involved. Like I said, if you do want to be involved in future episodes, make sure you go ahead and follow us on our Instagram page, which is at To Be Candid Podcast. I post a lot of like behind the scenes and like fun polls and things over there as well, so hopefully you will enjoy those. If you have liked this episode or you've been enjoying this podcast so far, please go ahead and leave a review, because it would mean so much to me, all of the above. You can go over and do that. Oh my gosh, I'm rambling now, you can tell. You can go ahead and do that on Apple Podcasts, which is where they have like the reviewing field function over there, and it just means that other people will be able to find the podcast, which would be amazing. And if you do listen along, please tag me in your like screenshots or whatever, or wherever you're listening, because that would be really fun to see as well. The next episode I have coming up for you is going to be all about Netflix recommendations and all the shows I've watched on Netflix during lockdown, and let me tell you, there are a lot, and I think it's going to be a really fun episode, which I cannot wait to record, so hopefully you'll stick around for that one. But I do post a new episode every Tuesday, so hopefully I won't see you next week. Hopefully I'll speak to you next week. Bye.